All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending our Select Board Forum. We would like to express our gratitude to the Senior Center staff, Maureen Mitchell, Kelly Peasy, Aurora, I'm going to mess this up. I don't want to mess it up. Shostrom, thank you for allowing us to use this space and helping to set up the event. Also, thank you to John Williams for managing the sound for the event, and to Rob Balog from the Dalton Community Cable Association for broadcasting it on channel 1301 in Dalton. I'm also going to add thank you to our Dalton reporter, Sabrina Dams, who organized this. She didn't put that in the script, but a little round of applause. So this event is also being live streamed on iBerkshires YouTube channel. The election is here at the Senior Center located at 40 Field Street on May 12th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just a few housekeeping items. If you could silence your cell phones and be respectful to the candidates. Please hold all applause until the end of the event. We will have a nice round of applause for everybody at the end. So each candidate will begin with a 2-minute opening statement. I have used a random generator to select the order in which the candidates are asked the questions and the opening statements, just to keep it totally fair, leaving it in the hands of randomness. So at the conclusion of the event, we will allow each candidate 90 seconds to deliver a closing statement. And for the questions, each candidate will have up to 1.5 minutes to answer, 90 seconds, followed by 30 seconds each to rebut or follow up. And I will allow for further debate on a particular question if needed. I'll just kind of go with that. So with that, we are going to get started with opening statements, 2-minute opening statements, and we are going to start with Marc.
Good evening. My name is Marc Strout. I've been on the select board for 9 years. It's been a long 4 days for me and my family. I almost didn't come tonight, but I refused to bend the knee to dirty politics. In January, an anonymous letter was written by a coward with baseless accusations. If you believe in it, put your name to it and release it. This one I actually think is funny. Out with Strout stickers being placed around town in Pittsfield on gas stations and on salt and pepper shakers and on urinals throughout the town. I actually think that's a pretty funny one. This is the one that, until recently, was my one that made me upset the most. My 14-year-old daughter wanted to transfer from Wacona to Taconic. Mid-year transfer, which we've done numerous times in my 9 years on the select board. Always an easy thing, we just approve it. They want to go to a different school, we let them. There was a coordinated attack, and I've seen the emails, and I have the emails, and I have the text messages saying that Strout was trying to get something free for his daughter, and my daughter was questioned at that meeting. The latest political attack is absolutely disgusting, and it is criminal harassment as well as slanderous. The people responsible for these attacks will be held criminally and civilly responsible. Where did our civility go? Where is the vitriol coming from? I've been on the wrong side of a debate plenty of times in the last 9 years. The vote has gone 4-1, and I fought and I've argued against my 4 other select board members. At the end of the vote, we were done, and we moved on. You didn't try and destroy somebody's reputation. You didn't try and destroy their career. You didn't try and destroy their families. We live in a great community that is the actual envy of Berkshire County. You know how many times I hear people say, oh, I wish I lived in Dalton. The schools are great.
10 seconds.
Let's all act like it, and let's end the negativity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and next for opening statements is going to be Robert Collins.
Good evening. I'm Robert Collins. For those of you who don't know me, my background is 24 years of experience that is focused on providing stormwater, sanitary sewer maintenance services, solar field construction, and other community services for over 40 communities in the state. Success has required financial and business planning, contract negotiations, and good old-fashioned hard work. Since being elected in February, progress has been made on many needs of the town. However, more work is required. We still need to plan to update our infrastructure, to decide how to provide the needed new police station, to create a system to better control town spending, and to develop a fair approach to gravel process operations that emphasize the needs of our residents. I have been listening, and I am supportive. Many residents have come to my weekly Thursday office hours at Town Hall. As a result of being approached for help, I began working with town staff and affected residents of the BCC dust issue. I believe the majority of the affected residents are pleased that progress has finally been made. Even though slow, I regret that some find it not fast enough. I will continue to work to bring this dust problem to a satisfactory close. To improve financial planning in Dalton, I have proposed a bylaw to create a capital planning committee modeled after Lee's very successful committee. The committee will have annual updates to the town's 5-year fiscal spending plan. I encourage the reactivation of the Stormwater Commission to begin addressing our infrastructure. We now have a full committee that will map the existing stormwater system and create a repair schedule that will fit into the town's budget. I believe that I have been effective, accessible, and
10
supportive,
seconds.
and have clearly demonstrated a commitment to carefully addressing the town's needs. I look forward and hope for your support again.
Thank you. And I'm so sorry, I just realized I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Brittany Polito, and I am the Pittsfield Bureau Chief for iBerkshires, so just over the border. All right, and our next opening statement is going to be Bill.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you all for coming. My name is William Drosehn. I grew up in Hinsdale, attended Wacona Regional, have been a Dalton resident for 36 years. I have had the honor to serve this town for 30 years as a member of the Finance Committee, the last 7 years as chair, as well as 8 years on the Traffic Commission, 5 years as chair. I retired from MassDOT after 28 years as the District 2 Bridge Inspection Engineer. Currently, I own a home inspection business that provides service throughout the Berkshires, and that's been for the past 30 years. These in-depth experiences have given me a great deal of insight and information that I look forward to sharing with the town as a select board member. At the present time, there are many needs throughout the town, such as ADA compliance at the town hall, new police station, and many needed road, sidewalk, bridge, and park repairs. My goals, if elected, would be to work toward a long-range plan to address the various infrastructure needs, creating financial restraint and improved operational efficiencies. We need to plan ahead to make sure that we remain efficient as well as cost-effective. For capital projects, this could be done through in-depth planning by having these projects already designed. We could take advantage of state and federal grant funding. We also need to have a maintenance plan to take care of our present structures before expensive repairs occur. We need to identify weakness in our infrastructure. I support the formation of a capital planning committee as proposed during our upcoming annual town meeting. To help with this plan, we may need consultants to evaluate these needs. Fiscal restraint is important in Dalton.
10
Dalton's
seconds.
spending has grown quite rapidly over the last 4 years. If it continues, this may force Dalton to cut some services. We really don't want that. From my many years of public service, I am sure this experience will be helpful in guiding spending and planning for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. And we are going to do Tony. Sorry. I'll remember that.
Thanks. Too nice a night to be here, but thank you for coming. Thank you for everyone for promoting this. My name is Tony Pagliarulo. I've lived in Dalton for 40 years. I was married here in 1976 to the former Peggy Adams. We moved here in 1985, where I was employed as a special needs teacher at Wacona. My students, my teachers, my children graduated from Wacona. During that tenure, I was a president and executive secretary of the Central Berkshire Education Association, representing teachers, nurses, paraprofessionals, and secretaries. Following that, I served as district director, 5-year stint for the Massachusetts Teachers Association, representing all educators, public educators in Berkshire County. I'm particularly proud of that because I initiated what eventually became the Fair Share Amendment some 15 years later. During the summers, I worked construction, and I was a licensed supervised builder. I built 2 homes in Dalton with my son, and knock on wood, they're still standing. My volunteerism began in the 80s when I first moved here. I served 8 years on the Finance Committee. As I was leaving, Bill was just getting on. During that time, we hired our first town manager. We instituted a 4 quarterly payment system, and we experienced a fiscal crisis, which eventually resulted in the closure of Town Hall on Fridays. I also served on the board of directors for the now defunct County Berkshire County School Credit Union, and that was a good experience also. I was on the committee that was to repurpose the old Dalton Junior High School, which eventually led to the building of the Senior Center. I re-entered the public square some years ago during the COVID period, where I advocated for ADUs, accessory dwelling units, which was approved on the floor at town meeting and which is now by right in our state, in our Commonwealth. I also joined the Green Dalton Committee with the goal of establishing EV chargers,
10 seconds.
which has been completed, and I'm now serving also on the Public Safety Facility Advisory Committee exploring options. As a foot soldier and as a leader, I've listened, I've asked questions, I've chosen to become informed, I'm an advocate for good government, I'll be responsible and responsive.
Thank you. All right, we are going to go to the questions now. Just a reminder, you are going to have 90 seconds. And for question number 1, we are going to start with Bill. So what is the role of a select board member, and what do you feel distinguishes you from the other candidates?
Well, first, when it comes to being a select board member, it's an extremely important position, but it's a position that needs to listen to people, and it's a policy level of position. So as things go through the town and all of the various needs of the town, the select board makes sure the town is cared for, and they're kind of the guiding light, I guess, for all of us in this town. And we should always have very open lines of communication with the select board. The select board it can't have closed communications. It all has to be open and above board. All of it has to be. You can't not have that. And you have to be very careful and listen to the people. Listen before you speak. That's probably the most important thing that can be done from a select board position. And I would hope that if I were elected, I would be able to affix those kinds of changes, getting communication opened back up again so that the people can hear or can be heard again, so that things can move forward and we can get things done in the town. And so we can begin to follow through on many of the promises that are being made. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next is going to be Robert, and I'll read the question again. What is the role of a select board member, and what do you feel distinguishes you from the other candidates?
I feel the major role of the select board is like the center hub of a spoke wheel. I feel that our government body that we sit as a select board member, we're to take on the information that is passed to us from our committees, our town administrators, and governing the whole entire town and making good decisions based on what we feel our transparency and interactions with the voters is. I feel that we just shouldn't be taking the position of this is how we feel, this is what I think, but we should be taking the opinions of our constituents into all our own decisions and keeping our personal beliefs out of the process of making decisions for our town. What I feel I bring to the town is I bring to a town a whole different aspect of looking at governancy, because I've worked for numerous cities and states throughout the state of Massachusetts and New York. I see how these process of bidding and work-related issues within towns, I see other issues in all these other towns, and I'm bringing that experience and that knowledge back to Dalton that I hopefully can maybe guide and steer us away from some of the poor decisions that I've seen made in other towns.
Thank you. Okay. And next we are going to go to Tony.
Thank you. When I chose to run for this position, I did some homework. And the Mass Municipal Association is an association which deals with select boards. We're the executive board. We're the government by committee. We have the legal authority in terms of warrants, appointments to boards, employing staff, warrants, and the granting of licenses and permits. That's our duty, but our duty extends beyond that in terms of leadership. And so we do have to lead the town, we do have to listen to the people, and we do have to act accordingly. Two things regarding our town, which I'd like us to consider in the future, is a town charter. When I thought I was running, and I did, I checked with our clerk, and we do not have a town charter. We have a myriad and mosaic of bylaws. And what we need is a framework of government in terms of government and governing, a very clear framework, so that as a placeholder, I may be here for 3 years, or all of us may be, the next person coming here has an idea of what our responsibilities are, what guidelines or guardrails there are in terms of moving the town forward. So I think that's what I'd like to do as a select board member, investigate that, and hopefully serve the people of the community.
Thank you. Okay. Recently, residents have come forward to urge action. Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, right off the back. But you caught me on it, thank you. So Mark, do you want me to read it again?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I work for you. I'm the employee, you're the employer. I report to you. I am your voice. I tell people when they ask, why do you like doing this? Well, why I like being on the select board is getting the calls, or somebody will say, hey, the street light's out on my street. And being able to take care of that right away. Being that person that they can go to. I have a pothole on my street. And they'll reach out to me, and I'll call Bud at the highway department, and I'll take care of that. You are the voice. I'm the voice of the people. Like I said, I work for you. I heard it referred to one time as the town father. I don't particularly like that. I like being the employee. You're the employer. I report to you. You have to be accessible to the people, and you have to be a good steward to the taxpayer money. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Won't happen again. Okay, and now on to the next one. So recently, residents have come forward to urge action to address sand allegedly coming from the unauthorized sand mine by Berkshire Concrete. They point to non-enforcement of permit conditions and bylaw compliance. How do you think the town should address this situation? And if Berkshire Concrete abates the sand mine operations, should they be eligible for further special permits? And how do you think the town can ensure they reclaim the property according to the laws? And this one, we are going to start off with Robert.
Wow.
It's a long one, I'm sorry.
Well, I've been very active in the BCC dust issues. It's been a long journey for everybody up there. I believe that our town has to start making hard decisions and giving hard fines to make people pay attention that the mitigation that is supposed to have been done should have been done, and the mitigation plan that was supposed to be in place prior to the permit being given was never done. This is a strict and complete violation. I feel our special permits in the residential zone area up in that neighborhood of the Raymond Drive area, there should not be any more operations in that area. The area should be abated, mitigated, seeded, and left alone. The people up in that corner of Raymond Drive and Glennon, it's ridiculous what they're putting up with. The biggest problem that I see that has been given is there's been no clear line to who was supposed to be accountable for these actions and who was supposed to take action
10 seconds.
to stop this. I believe we need better, stricter guidelines, and special permits have to be more detailed and followed and inspected.
Thank you. And I'm going to read this each time because it's a long one. And the next one is going to go to Bill. Recently, residents have come forward to urge action to address sand allegedly coming from the unauthorized sand mine by Berkshire Concrete. They point to non-enforcement of permit conditions and bylaw compliance. How do you think the town should address the situation? And if Berkshire Concrete abates the sand mine operations, should they be eligible for further special permits? And how do you think the town can ensure they reclaim the property according to laws?
Well, I've spoken to many of the people at the, up at the BCC project, and I have to feel that these people have been treated poorly by BCC and treated poorly by the town. And when I say the town has treated them poorly, they've been pushed back and forth from board to board, and they've tried very hard to be patient and get the work done. Today, we've been able to set aside funds so that if indeed testing needs to be done, we have it available to get it done. So we need to be proactive. When it comes to closure of that operation up there, I have varying opinions when it comes to the closure of that operation permanently. That being said, they need to mitigate this dust problem, and it's not something that's easily done. And we can go investigate in many different ways how to get it done. But this country, this entire nation has had dust problems all the way back to the brown fields out in the Midwest. So if we haven't figured out how to mitigate dust by this point, I feel that Berkshire Concrete has been dragging their feet. As for special permits, we need to draw up some level. Thank you. We need to draw up some level of policies to go through to help guide people that are being used or working within the planning board, so they know what directions when a problem like this arises. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Mark? Recently, residents have come forward to urge action to address sand allegedly coming from the unauthorized sand mine by Berkshire Concrete. They point to non-enforcement of permit conditions and bylaw compliance. How do you think the town should address this situation? And if Berkshire Concrete abates the sand mine operations, should they be eligible for further special permits? And how do you think the town can ensure they reclaim the property according to laws?
Well, first off, you can see the frustration in the residents up in that area. Every meeting they come to, and I feel it for them because they feel like they're getting the runaround. I talked to Bob Bishop about creating a task force to include every department head and the committee chairs. Get them in one room, stop worrying about hurting somebody's feelings. We sat at a meeting right here, and I said I wanted the building inspector to be there, and they're like, whoa. I said, well, tell him to be there. And they're like, well, we can ask him. No, he works for us. Tell him he's got to be at that meeting. Stop giving these people the runaround, create the task force, committee chairs, department heads, get them all in the room, and let's move forward and let's solve this for these residents. I've shared the videos from Mr. Griffin on social media. It's outrageous. Nobody should have to live through that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And for this one, oh, sorry, I did it again. Tony. Recently, residents have come forward to urge action to address the sand allegedly coming from the authorized sand mine by Berkshire Concrete. They point to non-enforcement of permit conditions and bylaw compliance. How do you think the town should address this situation? And if Berkshire Concrete abates the sand mine operations, should they be eligible for further special permits? And how do you think the town can ensure they reclaim the property according to laws?
Yes, thank you. Several weeks ago, a resident in the area emailed me and said, it's a mess. And it is a mess. And the mess is at the feet of Berkshire Concrete and Patrica Industries. I do three things. The first one is we have an enforcement officer, our building inspector, and I'm glad to see that he shut down the mining operation or the gravel operation there. He should go and inspect all permits to see that they're in compliance. If they're not in compliance, then all operations should cease accordingly. Secondly, much like what Marc has intimated, we should have an ad hoc committee of all the boards, the Select Board, the Board of Health, the Planning Board, and the Conservation Committee, and representatives from the neighborhood. to sit behind closed doors, it's not an open meeting, and report back to their respective boards and have a plan of action. That is, strategize and share information. Thirdly, in the future, that permit has to come up. And so in the fall, we're hopefully going to work with a consultancy, as I understand, and we will set conditions in terms of permitting that area. I took a 2-hour safari up there with my daughter and a friend a couple weeks ago, and I walked around. I lived on High Street. They grew up in the neighborhood. You should all take a walk up there through the pines. It's amazing. The land has been manipulated and reformed. Walker Brook is really no more from
10
this.
seconds.
In any event, that's how I would deal with it, and I'd urge you all to go up there and take a look at it. There's a lot going on.
All right. Thank you, guys. And for question number 3, Tony, you are going to answer first. Residents have criticized what they described as slow action on issues presented to the board, including tabling issues instead of taking action. Do you think this is accurate? If not, why not? And if so, what are the ways the board can improve this?
That's a good question. I'm not familiar with just what the board has done or not done accordingly. I know the board, and I have a question here in terms of the select board being on the committee. We are subject to open meeting laws, so we can't have a meeting of 3 of us. If we email each other, my understanding is we cannot communicate on email. It's very difficult to have a conversation if you're subject to open meeting laws, and we should be subject to open meeting laws. So that's an interesting question. And how do we communicate rather than sit for that period of 2 hours every 2 weeks? I think we have to have an action plan. When we do sit down, the chair sets the agenda. I'd hope we would share information just like we've done on our Public Safety Advisory Committee, where people review information. Those are agenda items, and we speak to those agenda items and move forward accordingly with an action plan. That's how I would do it, but I can't speak to the current select board in terms of just what that question is addressing.
Thank you. Okay, and the next one is going to be Marc. Residents have criticized what they described as slow action on issues presented to the board, including tabling issues instead of taking action. Do you think this is accurate? If not, why not? And if so, what are the ways the board can improve this?
Town government moves slow, very, very slow. If we don't have the proper information, a lot of times things get pushed down, they'll get delayed. With an effective town manager and having appropriate information, timely information, we'll be able to make better, quicker decisions. I don't know what they're referencing as far as stuff being tabled and put forward, but I think a lot of times it comes down to getting timely, accurate information, being able to make the decisions and move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a quick note, these questions were submitted by residents, so this is just the way that we wanted to try to make it reflective of what the voters are asking. All right, get back on track. Next is Robert, and I'll read it again. Residents have criticized what they described as slow action on issues presented to the board, including tabling issues instead of taking action. Do you think that this is accurate? If not, why not? And if so, what are the ways the board can improve this?
I feel that at times there is very slow action on the select board and in town government. I feel that there's times that things have to get tabled because the information hasn't been given to everybody in a timely manner, or that the information that we really need to be able to have the conversation about that topic is lacking. So I feel that there is a point that sometimes you have to have the ability to table something so you can gain more information and talk about it more, educated wise, and have factual evidence and information to be able to share with you, the townspeople, and with your fellow select board members. I believe that, I'm gonna agree with Mark's statement with, with a good town manager that keeps information up to date and passes it along in a timely manner, that really goes a long way for us to be able to do our homework before a meeting, rather than receiving sometimes our information an hour or two, or our packets before the meeting. So, I don't think at times, that people should look at us
10
tabling
seconds.
something is a bad thing. I would rather have it tabled than start guessing or having a hypothesis of the conversation. Information, not disinformation.
Thank you. And next, we are going to go to Bill. Residents have criticized what they described as slow action on issues presented to the board, including tabling issues instead of taking action. Do you think that this is accurate? If not, why not? And if so, what are the ways the board can improve this?
Well, first and foremost, one of the things that I've seen and I've noticed over time is there's a lack of organization. Having information in a timely manner is important when you're going to run meetings such as this. Robert's Rules of Order are a rather amazing thing when they're run relatively correctly. Robert's rules can be really tight, or they can be rather loose, but they should be followed regardless of tight or loose. And it's very important also allowing people to speak to you. When it comes to tabling, that's part of the process when it comes down to getting the work done. An explanation for the table. In other words, you have a motion to table, then you have a second, then you have to have discussion. Generally, I don't see a lot of discussion taking place between the vote for or against a motion. I don't see a lot of that discussion taking place. I find it rather disheartening and disturbing. We need to kind of tighten that up and make that better, and help our select board kind of be able to do a more efficient job when they're here. 2, 3, 4 hour select board meetings can be rather tedious. I happen to endure a few of those.
10 seconds.
So I just to kind of finish it out, I would hope that we can all kind of begin to understand how the government works. Yes, it does work slowly, but as long as we can manage to get the work done correctly, that's very important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebuttal.
Yeah, sure. You have
Per
30
Robert's
seconds.
Rules of Order, on the motion to table, there is no discussion. So that's why we try and get the discussion out before we make the motion to table.
Thank you. Okay. So the next question is going to go to Robert first. 3 years ago, the town had an excess levy capacity of 1.2 million. However, because of increases for things such as health insurance, school costs, and wages, the town has just under 3,000 in excess levy capacity. The board has previously discussed a Proposition 2.5 override. Would you support that, or are there other ways the town can maintain services while reducing the burden on taxpayers? And what would your priorities be when reviewing department budgets?
Question. I think you have a number wrong.
Yeah. The excess levy capacity.
It's 300,000.
Under 300,000.
Okay, so we'll change that. The town has just under 130,000 to
No,
300?
300,000. We're just under 300,000, not 3,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad. Yes. Okay. It says 130,000 on here, so
You have to close town hall again.
okay, well, let's just all be happy that's not happening. Sorry, guys. 300,000. Would you like me to read it again?
Sure.
So 3 years ago, the town had an excess levy capacity of 1.2 million. However, because of increases for things such as health insurance, school costs, and wages, the town has just under 300,000 in excess levy capacity. The board has previously discussed a Proposition 2.5 override. Would you support that? Or are there other ways the town can maintain services while reducing the burden on taxpayers? And what would your priorities be when reviewing departmental budgets?
I do not support a Proposition 2.5 at this time. I do not feel that our town warrants this. I feel that the Proposition 2.5 needs to be used for financial hardship or tactical moves for financial planning purposes that are critical or emergency type aspects at this time. I feel that the budgets for the department heads that are handed into the town, this is my first year going through that. I find it very interesting. I feel that for the most part, that all the breakdowns in the budgets are very interesting to look at and compare with the following year. This year's budgets that, from I noticed, everybody, other than we had a lot of raises that were given this year contractually that we have no control over, and the huge insurance raise bill between not only our tax, our residents, our employees, but also at the high school and school level was astronomical. And some of these things we just can't control, but I do believe in long-term planning. That's why I've proposed the capital planning bylaw, and I believe that could help long-term fiscal spending and awareness. It would have been nice to know that we needed a new high school and a new police station within a 5-year period. Planning would have helped that.
Thank you. And the next one is going to be Bill. 3 years ago, the town had an excess levy capacity of $1.2 million. However, because of increases for things such as health insurance, school costs, and wages, the town has just under $300,000 in excess levy capacity. The board has previously discussed a Proposition 2.5 override. Would you support that, or are there other ways the town can maintain services while reducing the burden on taxpayers? And what would be your priorities when reviewing departmental budgets?
When it comes to Proposition 2.5, Proposition 2.5 is a restraint that was put on us many years ago to hold the town within 2.5% of the values of the property in the town plus new growth. New growth has been anemic in this town for many years, anemic at best. We did have a little bit of a bump this year. That's part of the reason why we're in the position we're in. We're actually not with that number. If we have a year like we just endured for raises, we'll be over Prop 2.5. So it's kind of a tough position to be in. We need to really take a look. We did at the finance level this year. We cut many budgets, and we were able to get some resemblance of order with relationship to that Proposition 2.5 number. That excess levy limit, just to let you know, is right around $230,000 as we speak. So that's kind of where we were at the other day when I looked at it. I work very closely with our town accountant. She's a great person to have behind that desk, and she is really extremely helpful. A 30% increase in our health insurance this year was astronomical, and I've only seen that one other time, and I believe Tony was there when that occurred, was in the mid-90s was when we saw an increase of that magnitude. We were fortunate back then. One other thing that we're seeing that's a little out of our control is the sewer treatment. That's outside of Proposition 2.5, but we still have to keep the restraints on in order to keep people living in the house. They're living in Dalton.
10 seconds.
Thank you. At the present rate, the town of Dalton stands with the water and sewer fees and such, we stand to become one of the highest tax rates in Berkshire County. We need to kind of rein that in, and we need to get after it now, not later. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next person we're going to go to is Marc, and I'll read it again. 3 years ago, the town had an excess levy capacity of $1.2 million. However, because of increases for things such as health insurance, school costs, and wages, the town has just under $300,000 in excess levy capacity. The board has previously discussed a Proposition 2.5 override. Would you support that, or are there other ways the town can maintain services while reducing the burden on taxpayers, and what would your priorities be when reviewing departmental budgets?
Well, first off, we're not the only community in this situation right now. Insurance costs have gone up throughout the state, similar numbers to what we're experiencing. Also, it was a contract year this year. We had 3 unions that were negotiating contracts. We were paying public safety dispatchers less than $20 an hour to sit in there. Well, you can go to BJ's and make more than $20 an hour. We were paying highway people $20-something an hour, and I think you said up in Windsor they were making $31 an hour. Maybe splitting up the contract years, doing them every year instead of doing 3 all at one time. We'll spread it out a little bit because usually the first year of a contract you see a major increase. I don't support a 2.5 override at this point. I don't think we need it. The sewer bill, as was referenced, the sewer bills we pay to Pittsfield. Hopefully after next year, I think they're done paying off and the sewer bills should go back down. Right now we're paying, I think it's $1 million a year or something like that for the sewer bill. The other thing is our OPEB account. We're in actually a good situation with the OPEB account, which is the
10 seconds.
It's an account that only 5 or 6 other communities and cities in the state has fully funded, and ours is fully funded. So we are actually sitting in a good spot. Everybody's going through this inflation, and it's an employee's world out there right now.
Thank you. All right. And we're going to go to Tony now. 3 years ago, the town had an excess levy capacity of $1.2 million. However, because of increases for things such as health insurance, school costs, and wages, the town has just under $300,000 in excess levy capacity. The board has previously discussed a Proposition 2.5 override. Would you support that, or are there other ways the town can maintain services while reducing the burden on taxpayers? And what would your priorities be when reviewing departmental budgets?
I think what's going on is we're not unique in our situation. COVID monies are expiring, and we've had that cushion of COVID monies for these last several years. School budget is losing those funds. We're losing those funds. Fixed costs, as has been mentioned, are going up in terms of insurance. We're going to have to make decisions regarding competing priorities, and that's not an easy thing. But in terms of looking at tax levy, we have the option of moving monies that are bonded out now to a debt exclusion or a capital exclusion. Debt exclusion is over a period of years, capital is for 1 year. That takes those monies and provides an extra cushion in terms of operating budgets. We still have to face the piper in terms of paying it, but it makes the procedure of, or the way of our operating budget that much simpler. We need tax relief, and just last week I spoke to the planning board, and it's a long-term proposition, but we have to look at rezoning or upzoning. The burden on the taxpayer, commercial, industrial, residential, is primary in this town. It accounts for 2/3 of our monies. We have to look at properties twofold. Those areas where we can have multifamily housing. We have to have growth. Dalton's population is in decline. We're an aging population. We need people to come here. It's a desirable community. We have industrial and business properties that may be available for multifamily housing.
10 seconds.
We now have ADUs. That could also be terms, it's a bigger bite in terms of a multifamily versus an ADU, again, increasing the tax rolls.
Thank you. Okay. And for the next one, we are going to start with you, Tony. The Massachusetts State Ethics Commission emphasizes not only avoiding actual conflicts of interest, but also the appearance of one. How do you plan to address any potential conflicts of interest that may arise, as there are personal and professional conflicts in small towns? Do you have a conflict, and how do you deal with that?
When I joined the Green Dalton Committee, we were required, I believe it's every year, every other year, to take an online video course regarding conflict of interest. That's required of everybody in this community. So rest assured, we have to go through that in terms of being updated on conflict of interest. I don't see a conflict of interest. I'm not a public employee. So that isn't the case. When I started on the Finance Committee, I had to back off the table because I was a teacher at the time. So I think it'll be addressed. I think we have to represent our constituents, and I think we have to have honest, fair discussions of where we sit. And I intend to be forthright in any communication I have I have no hidden agenda other than to advocate for everyone. I'll have everyone's ear, and I'll have no one's ear. So I don't see that as an issue for myself.
Okay, thank you. And the next one is going to go to Mark. The Massachusetts State Ethics Commission emphasizes not only avoiding actual conflicts of interest, but also the appearance of one. How do you plan to address any potential conflicts of interest that may arise, as there are personal and professional conflicts in many small towns? Do you have a conflict, and how do you deal with that?
I don't believe I have any conflicts other than I'm married to the chief of police. This has been an issue even prior to her becoming a chief as an employee, as a police officer for Dalton. I had to work closely with the Ethics Commission, and as far as recusing myself for anything to do with the police department, as far as anything that she could financially gain from, but also as far as disciplining or doing anything with the town manager, because he is technically her boss. So I work closely with them. If I have questions, I reach out to them. I talk to them a couple times a year. I think I've addressed it properly.
Thank you. And next we are going to go to Robert. The Massachusetts State Ethics Commission emphasizes not only avoiding actual conflicts of interest, but also the appearance of one. How do you plan to address any potential conflicts of interest that may arise, as there are personal and professional conflicts in many small towns? Do you have a conflict, and how do you deal with that?
I don't believe I have an official conflict with anything within the town government of Dalton. What I do have that I see that could be a conflict is I own a company that we do a lot of municipality work, and Dalton puts out bids for their municipality work for sewers, jetting, waterways, stormwater, sidewalks. I have openly, and I'm doing it again tonight, publicly stating that my company, nor any representative of a company that I work with, will bid on any work in the town of Dalton, to keep it very black and white. I will not work in the town of Dalton for my company. I do work for the water department, which is not a direct entity of the select board, and I feel that there's no conflict there, and most people in the fire commissioners do know that. And I've asked and told anybody that felt that there was any conflict with me in the services or any of my reputation to come see me. I am more than happy to discuss it and talk it over with you. And I feel that transparency is the best way to have it, and those that know me know that I'm pretty straightforward and pretty opinionated. So everybody's welcome to ask me, and I will give you an honest answer if you feel that there is a conflict. But just to make it clear, I will not put myself in the position of doing work in the town for the town of Dalton with my company.
Thank you. Okay, and now we are going to go to Bill. The Massachusetts State Ethics Commission emphasizes not only avoiding actual conflicts of interest, but also the appearance of one. How do you plan to address any potential conflicts of interest that may arise, as there are personal and professional conflicts in many small towns? Do you have a conflict, and how do you deal with it?
When it comes to conflict of interest, it's kind of a broad umbrella, and it kind of captures many people, many people, when you don't even realize that you're in conflict. When it comes to a conflict, it's important to kind of avoid them and not get involved with them. If you see a conflict, if you see or feel that there's a conflict, speaking up about them is important, because at least then the people that are in conflict may not understand the brevity of the conflict. I've had recently been involved with a conflict case, and it turned out that it wasn't as much a conflict as it was brought out to be. That is, quite frankly, the only conflict that I've ever had within the town. I work hard to avoid those conflicts. If I see a conflict, I either recuse or abstain when it comes to any voting or comment on it. I won't comment or engage whenever it involves any improprieties or anything involving a conflict of any sort. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And the first, this question is going to go to Bill first. Each of the candidates have demonstrated experience serving on town boards and committees. Aside from that, what initiatives have you undertaken or plan to undertake, and how does it benefit the town?
Well, there's many things that the town needs to kind of focus on. One of the things that I've noticed over the years is we really don't have policies. We have bylaws that are laws that govern the town. But for instance, at the finance level, there can be a series of policies. We put aside every year a certain amount of funds each year to go into our stabilization accounts. And whenever that comes in, we rely on people like Sandy, myself, and others that are in the system all the time to remember that those amounts and those numbers are to be used from, say, free cash and things of that nature. So policies are important. They're not laws, so to speak, but they are guideposts because we do have such a turnover in all of our various committees and commissions within the town. Having a decent set of policies for each and every committee and commission, it will give you guidelines and allow you to do a better job in understanding the rules of how that group will function. I hope to be able to move forward on helping with policies. One other thing.
10 seconds.
One other thing too is I'd like to see us start to get a bit of a hierarchy within the town and be able to move people forward. In other words, start out at a low level and have a career ladder to climb. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next one's going to go, or this is going to go to Mark. Each of the candidates has demonstrated experience serving on town boards and committees. Aside from that, what initiatives have you undertaken or plan to undertake, and how does it benefit the town? Also, if anyone doesn't need me to reread the question, you can just tell me. So, Mark?
Well, initially when I ran 9 years ago, I was instrumental in getting the old Dalton High taken down. I think at this point, we can all look out there and say that was a good idea to, instead of having that building sitting out there. Going forward, I've spoken with Dan Esco. We want to work together as far as getting more businesses into town. When I first came on to Grow Dalton with Steve Sears over there, it was a great program they had going on, trying to get businesses here. We need to increase the tax base. So if we need to change some zoning, then that's what we need to. We need to increase the tax base to take the burden off the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to go to Robert. The town's current...
I'm good.
Oh, you're good?
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good. Since my short time being elected in February, I've taken and been part of many initiatives. One of the main initiatives that I campaigned on was revitalizing the Stormwater Committee. I've been very successful at putting the Stormwater Committee back into activation and have actually filled all the seats on that committee. I've been very active and taken a lot of initiative and spent many hours with the BCC dust issue. I have spent many hours not only talking with the residents, but I've also spent many hours sitting at the Department of Health's desk, working with Agnes, working with Yanko and planning, and trying to come up with a plan and trying to find the engineering and the professional staff locations that we can go for answers and help. I've also brought to the initiative, and I've also brought to the capital planning bylaw. I sponsored and submitted that petition, which will, in summary, the proposed bylaw is to provide an approach and improve town finances that holds great promise for gratitude for the guidance of the town for longevity in short-term years and 5 and 10-year blocks.
10 seconds.
Which corresponds with our master plan. There's a few other things, but those are the main initiative things that I've done in my short time in office.
Thank you. And Tony, each of the candidates have...
It's good.
Okay.
Okay. I mentioned earlier the notion of rezoning or upzoning, and so I think that's a very good option in terms of Dalton, in terms of relieving the taxpayer. I also mentioned the town charter. I just want to point out that town charter, by state statute 43B, requires 15% of the registered voters to sign on. It has to pass town meeting, and it will require 9 charter commissioners elected at large. So this is a way of engaging our community in terms of town government directly. It has to be voted on by the people. I'd also like to see a policy and procedure manual for the select board, and we're not beholden to that, but I think it's a good thing when new select board members come on, they have some guardrails, and they can choose to follow them or not. There should be some goal setting for the year, again, very public. I also want to point out in terms of the Green Committee, I don't want to forsake what we've done in terms of acquiring grant monies. I know we have a town warrant there in terms of the stretch code going back. I think that would be a bad thing for Dalton. It would eliminate potential grants in terms of renovation of the basement at the town hall or the public safety facility building. And finally, I have to speak to the public safety facility building. And I've like many others, mistaken, called the police department. It's not. It's the police department, it's the communication center, it's dispatch. That
10 seconds.
That committee has worked very hard. We're in the process of informing and surveying the public. We're going to look for your support. We understand we're between a rock and a hard place in terms of what we want and what we can afford.
Thank you. And perfect timing, this next question is about the public safety building. And this is going to go to Marc first. The town's current police facility is in poor condition. Would you advocate for borrowing funding for a new facility? Additionally, if town voters approve the proposal, how do you think the town can mitigate costs?
I, like probably everybody, is concerned about the cost. I absolutely believe we need a building, but at what cost? I implore everybody to take a walk down in there to the police department and ask for a tour and take a walk down through there. We need a new building, but at what cost? How much is it going to cost? I know because I happen to know the chief that they were working on it last week. They've already cut over 1,000 square feet off of it. I know that they've applied for grants. I've spoken to Robert about different, bringing communities together. We do have to finance it, but we are at the absolute very beginning stages of this. I think we're still looking many years down the road as far as getting this facility and the funding for it. I think at the last Public Safety Committee meeting, I told them, stop setting unrealistic timelines. We still have to do a lot of public input. We need to speak to the residents. We need to speak to the people in the neighborhoods and see what they want to do. Because when it comes down to it, it's not what I think, it's what you think.
Thank you. Okay, Robert, do you want me to read it again?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I don't think anybody that has walked through the police station and sees what the situation that our officers are working in, they should be complimented, and the chief should be complimented for functioning and not even realizing they probably shouldn't function as well as they do due to the situation and circumstances they're dealing with. I believe we need a new police station, but as Marc pointed out, we've talked about regionalization, and regionalization could get up to, $11, $12 million towards this building if we could regionalize and come up with a regionalized plan. We could ask for a financial bond bill that could be pushed through by some of our upper constituents, our elected representatives that could help us collect and try to gain this money. But I also believe that we need to get out questions to our people in town and ask them where they stand. Where do they feel, a new police station may need to go? Do they feel how
10
much?
seconds.
We could ask questions on how much they feel we should spend with some guidance. And this could all be done through a process known as Flash Vote, cloud-based information system.
Thank you. And Tony?
Thank you. I sort of have an unfair advantage here since I've been on the committee since July, and I want to thank the committee and all of the committee, all 10 of us. There's 5 voting members and 5 others. We took 2 hard votes when we started. One was that our police facility now was inadequate to meet 21st century demands after visiting the Williamstown and Williamsburg police stations. The second vote was that, and people may not remember this, but the fire district was also part of that, and we chose not to look at that given the issues in terms of the fire district. Our committee has moved very quickly identifying properties. We have a consultant now who's performed a needs assessment. It's on our town website. Please go to that, and hopefully we'll adopt what his feasibility study would be, and of course it's the property behind me now. We've moved quickly because we all understand inflation. Inflation is our enemy. Costs are escalating. We also understand, of course, money. Where are the grants going to come from? Where Lennox and Lee have received $1 million earmarks from the federal government, that's doubtful these next 3 years. So we're going to have to look at this building, and it's going to take us all to look at it, but it's for the betterment of our community. And it's an education. I've learned so much, as our committee has, in terms of sharing information, and we want to get that to you so you can make an informed decision publicly and forthrightly. So it will take
10
time.
seconds.
It will take time, but it behooves us all to educate ourselves.
Thank you. Okay, and Bill, do you want me to read it again?
Thanks.
Okay.
When it comes to the new police station, it's a foregone conclusion that we really need to do that. First and foremost, we need to make the situation that they're presently enduring in that area, we need to make that better, because a new police station is a distance off, as Marc has said. And the reason it's a distance off is, remember, when we build a new police station, we, the community, build a new police station, it isn't private funds. Private funds, we'd already have a shovel in the ground in less than a year. But with public funds, you don't get to do that. You have to ask the people, and the people have to decide. Ultimately, all of the people have to decide in some way or another. We presently have a rather large debt load on the town as it is. And to take on the excess debt load, I'm not sure if the town would have the ability to take on the excess debt load for a rather expensive police station. So we need to be mindful of this when we go forward, when we're looking at the police station and attempting to mitigate the costs. Getting a regionalization is really a great idea if it can happen, but we need to build a police station kind of relatively soon.
10 seconds.
So it's kind of important to make sure that when we do indeed borrow the money will be debt excluded, so it won't be on Proposition 2.5. However, it still comes back in other ways when the numbers come back in. Sometimes we still have to cut budgets, nonetheless. People don't like $1.5 million for a school. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to do a little skipping around with questions because there was a mention of the town manager earlier, so we'll go to this question. And this one, we're going to start with Robert. What characteristics are you looking for in a new town manager, and how will you assess whether a candidate has these attributes?
Well, I believe that one of the main attributes that a town manager needs to have and show is the ability to manage people and be a taskmaster. One of the things that we have not seen in our town over the last 3 or 4 years with this current town manager is grant writing. This town has had minimal grant writings, with the fact that the town manager is responsible for writing grants. The new town manager that we pick needs to make sure that they're either writing the grants or overseeing that they're getting the grants written. Towns around us like Peru, Windsor, Hinsdale have received millions of dollars in the last few years. Last year, I know each of them have received over $1 million in grants. And has the town of Dalton received any $1 million grant? No. Why? Because we haven't been getting the grants written. One of the other attributes that I believe needs to happen is we need to have a strong town manager coming into place that has a good financial, fiscal responsibility and knowledge. I'd like to think that we're finding somebody that comes from a town or city that they've had large financial oversight on, because coming to a town at Dalton, with some of the tax issues and raises in our taxes, we need to start
10
finding
seconds.
areas that we can start to control. And I'd like to think that our new town manager can start to work with the department heads and try to find areas and loopholes that we can try to start saving money.
Thank you. Mark?
What we don't need is what I call I'm a gonna. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. We need somebody out there that's out there, exactly what Robert said, getting grant money. We need a strong fiscal person to come out there. We need a person that can manage people, manage them well, that are familiar with contracts, knows how to negotiate contracts. They have to be a jack of all trades. They should acquire strong ties to the community. When was the last time you saw a town manager at the Dalton restaurant having coffee with somebody? I don't care. Oh, you're a good point. Yeah, good point. That's what we need. We need somebody strongly connected to the community. We need somebody who knows the bylaws, state laws, Maya, insurances. We need to go out there and use the search committee that we're putting together. We also need to use a search firm. And that's what we need to get the next town manager, to make sure we get the right one.
Thank you. Okay.
Town manager isn't even here tonight.
All right. We're going to go to Tony next. Would you like me to reread it? Okay.
That's great, thanks. The way our government now is run, we have the Town Manager's Financial Act. It's a state mandate, and basically, it came in the 90s when I was on the Finance Committee. And again, the town charter, if we choose to go that route, we can identify and put some more definition to that. He's our chief financial officer, or she's our chief financial officer. It's an overwhelming task, and I can only take my perspective. When I first came on board on the Finance Committee, we had a part-time accountant. We had no town manager. That town manager has to manage everyone in town. He has to send out grant monies, procure monies, meet with committees. It's an overwhelming task, and the person has to be responsible. I would think he or she has to be paid well too. And as Mark pointed out, I'd hope that person has some knowledge of our culture here, at least in Western Massachusetts. So it's our most important decision in the short term that we have to make. And I think hiring a consultant, having a committee now that people approve of, we'll go forward and hopefully do the best we can. Greg Barrington is researching it again, and there's constant movement in this area. Very, very difficult. And a good one will put us on the road. So it's a decision I would hope all of us, again, are very much informed and we make the right call.
Thank you. Bill?
Well, when it comes to the town manager, we need someone that's relatively organized. We're struggling to accomplish that at this point. The person needs to be well-rounded. The person needs to be able to accomplish a lot of things in a short period of time. They have to be a person that's willing to show and teach others how to do certain tasks that can be done well, but don't need they don't really need that really tight oversight that the town manager should give to those projects. Town manager should be approachable. Should be a person that you can talk to. And especially when it comes to negotiating any contracts or setting up any contracts, involve people in that. Instead of negotiating a contract with one of our collective bargaining units, doing it alone, I think it's a better idea to have more than one person sitting in the room at that time. You can be taken advantage. You can actually be undermined in that case when it comes down to getting things done. But we need to focus on having a person that knows and understands
10 seconds.
small towns, not large towns. And we need a town manager, not a town administrator. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
Town manager process right now. At our town meeting, the town's going to be asked to vote for not having to have the new town manager have to live in town. What this will do will open up a larger group of candidates to be able to find for our town. By making somebody move to our town, it eliminates possibly getting somebody from, Northampton or even Lee or Lennox or Great Barrington that would be willing to come here. And one of my biggest arguments is there's not that many houses in Dalton that someone could move to our town and bring their family to. So I personally would like to see the support for that bylaw, that we waive the residency for the new town manager.
Thank you. Would anyone else like a little extra time?
You don't have to live here to be part of the community. Just like what I was going back and saying, when was the last time you saw a town manager at the Dalton restaurant having a coffee or a juice and java out and about, or having a meeting like that saying, hey, the town manager is going to be at Juice and Java Monday morning at 9 o'clock if somebody would like to stop in and talk to them. You don't have to live here to be part of the community. That's what we need.
Thank you. Bill or Tony, anything?
Just to echo it's not as important as a lot of people thought when we first took on the town manager. It was all about the having a person from the town. Today the dynamics are much different, and if we want to get younger people to come in and do town management work, we need to be able to broaden our horizons as well as theirs. Thank you.
I agree that we should not have the prerequisite that they have to live in Dalton, certainly Western Mass.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go to a rather broad question. What do you see as the major issues currently facing the town, and what experience do you have that could help address these issues? And this is going to go to Tony.
Well, I think first and foremost is the Berkshire concrete issue there. It's a neighborhood issue. It's a town issue. I think we have to stand behind our neighbors. And as I said, I think an ad hoc group should be formed. I think our building inspector should inspect the site. And I think it should be very clear that we should start to engage in dialogue with the notion that, much like we did with Ray Roberts, there'll be conditions if this permit is renewed in the fall. So that's, I think, a hot button issue. As I've said, I've pointed out some other issues, long-term issues. Our finances are going to have to be looked at. Our zoning has to be looked at. Our charter has to be looked at. And I would hope a policy and procedure manual also for the select board. So I'm not going to, that pretty much covers that's a mouthful there.
Thank you. And next, we are going to go to Robert.
I believe there's a number of major issues in our town that unfortunately all have to be addressed in a timely manner, and some in a bigger issue. Just a few of the quick major issues I find right at the top of the list is the BCC dust issue. I believe our police department is an issue that we need to address cautiously and aggressively, but with caution. I believe that the stormwater and infrastructure in our town is old. This is something that we need to start planning for because, for instance, I didn't realize that the water lines, I know this is another water, but the water and sewer lines, some of the water and sewer lines that go down Main Street were put in back in the turn of the 1900s, early 1900s. And there's a number of gate valves and pump stations that are old. We need to start looking at banking money and progressively looking to plan for these upgrades and needed necessities. Where I come in is, I work on this stuff every day. This is what my company does. I believe I can bring to the table the fact that I go to many towns and cities, and I see I see the things that should have been done after the project started that should have been done before the project started. So what I'd like to hope that is when we start looking at these infrastructure issues, that I can maybe point out some things that should be done prior to any projects being started.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we will go to Marc. Do you want me to repeat it?
Sure.
All right. What do you see as the major issues currently facing the town, and what experience do you have that could help address these issues?
I think right off the bat is the Berkshire concrete. That needs to be addressed. We can't push this down. We can't push these people to another committee. We can't push them to another commission. We can't have them calling this one, calling that one. We need to get on this, and this needs to be addressed ASAP. We'll bring forward something that says we're going to have everybody in the room, committee members, department heads, no more kicking the can down the road. We have to address this. If you haven't seen those videos, you can go to my Facebook page, and I've shared them there. I've also shared them on the, you're probably from Dalton Facebook page. Absolutely horrendous. And it's funny because I had seen a video earlier back in December with some snow, and the person was like, what is this stuff, soot-like stuff that's all over the snow? And a couple of the comments were like, you're crazy. That's probably soot from a wood stove. Well, now we know what it is because of Mr. Griffin. The police department needs to be addressed. That's a top priority. That needs to be, we have to come up with a plan. We need to get better at planning things. We need to address the zoning bylaws, bring more businesses back in. I would like to restart the Grow Dalton committee that we had. We were meeting every month trying to get businesses back into Dalton to
10 seconds.
increase the tax base. And then right up there towards the top of the list is getting a competent town manager.
Thank you. Okay, Bill?
Thank you. Well, we've got quite a laundry list of things to focus on. Of course, BCC is right in the forefront of everyone's mind, but in seeing the process and being a little more involved in it, I have to say that we really don't have a good policy for special permits and oversight of special permits. We have a problem with Ray Robert. We have a problem with BCC. We also have problems with other organizations and such that have permits. So we need to have much better oversight, and a full-time building inspector or that kind of inspector may help us with that problem. We also have we've got sidewalks and roads that all need repairs. The police building, they're enduring a pretty tough place over there. We need to plan on that, but we need to take our time and make sure that we don't push too quickly, because even though it may cost us more because we wait a little longer, it can go from, say, $800 a square foot. If we have to fix something, it could reach way over $1,000 a square foot in a really large hurry if we make a mistake. It's important to make sure that we're not wasting money when it comes to things of that nature. One thing that's been kind of left out is access to our town hall for handicap.
10 seconds.
Thank you. We need to get an elevator in that building. We need to do many other things within that building to help with the handicapped accessibility within our town hall. And just real quick, let's look at getting some green power on our landfill. Thank you.
All right, we're going to do one more question, and then we're going to move to closing statements. All right, so this one is going to go to Bill first. Do you believe there are opportunities to merge certain town departments and services? And are there departments or resources you believe the town could regionalize with other towns?
That's a great question. When it comes down to that, there are departments that are already merged in many ways. We just happen to have different budgets for each place. So for a good example is our DPW. That DPW covers it covers the parks, it covers the cemeteries, sewers. It doesn't cover the water system, also highways and many other things at that department. And that's already been merged. So merging departments It's done more through a budgetary process than it is actually saying, we have a DPW and this is what the DPW does. So I would have to say that putting together mergers of different departments can be beneficial as long as you're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to that. It would be better if we can manage to get things more focused and headed in a better direction, and maybe even use technology to improve on some of the things, so we don't need so that the departments can work with one another in many, many different ways. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to go to Tony next. Do you want me to reread it?
Yeah, would you please? Yes.
Sure, yeah. Do you believe there are opportunities to merge certain town departments and services, and are there departments or resources you believe the town could regionalize with other towns?
Yes. I guess the only thought I'd have along those lines is we have our town government and we have the fire district, and there may be some efficiencies there if the two can merge. That's a big bite in terms of equipment and personnel. But I think it may be better in the long run for the town, but that's something that should be investigated in terms of sharing materials or personnel. In terms of regionalization, this topic came up with our public safety facility. And unlike schools where there's monies to build, there are no monies to build public safety facilities that the state provides. Hopefully, we would look to the state to say, yes, we are going to be a regional facility of sorts, in particular a training room. I know our chief has letters of agreement from surrounding police departments to use that training room rather than to go to Holyoke and come back and pay for an officer. So along those lines, regionalization may entice the state to say, yes, we're going to help pay for that facility. That's all part of the planning process. It's great to talk about regionalization, but as we know, towns are fiercely independent. And that's just a given, and that's something that, that's New England. But within the town, I really don't see much beyond maybe the fire district merging together with our town. And as I said, that would take quite a bit of discussion and conversation.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, do you want me to read it again? No, I got it. Okay.
Thank you. I'll echo what Tony said about the fire district. I don't necessarily support it, but it's absolutely something we should explore in the future. And this all comes with having an excellent town manager to look at these things and look at our priorities and where we can save money and what departments we could merge. We already do that. We do it with the highway department covers the cemetery, the animal control covers the farm inspector. A lot of these things are already merged. But if we have a competent and excellent town manager, then they'll be able to bring a lot of these things together and we can move forward.
Thank you. And Robert, do you want me to read it again?
No, I think I got it.
Okay.
I'm a big proponent for regionalization for our police department. I think that is a huge key. It's a future thinking process. I believe that some of our departments, I don't know about combining departments, but I'm a strong advocate for getting software that communicates between the department heads so the lack of paperwork shuffling between department to department is minimized, which would then increase the job productivity. Right now, we have a lot of things in town hall that I call it dinosaurish in my eyes, that paperwork is moved from one department to the other, and then that information is re-entered into the computer, and there's software out there that can help with that. Another thing I see that could help would be the in-house versus outsourcing our credit card or debit. Our town should be collecting, if someone wants to pay with their debit card or credit card their taxes in town hall, they should be able to do that. Instead, we're pairing a service and Lord knows where they're from. I'd like to say they're still in Massachusetts, but the odds of that are probably very slim. Why should they get the 3%? Why not get it back to the town? Outside, I'm not a big proponent for the water district to be part of become part of the town. The fire department, give or take, but I do believe that maybe the ambulance service could be something that the town could help advocate. I think that's something that the fire department has struggled with in the past, and I think that's something that possibly could be looked into to help the fire district out, and could have some maybe some financial gains or abilities if it was a town entity versus a private entity with the fire department. But I don't believe we should take over the fire department by any means, or water district.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, of course.
When it comes to the town taking over the water district, you know how we talked about the Proposition 2.5 earlier? If we were taking on the water district and the fire department, that would put us probably underwater by, I would say, almost $1 million when it comes down to that, when it comes to Proposition 2.5. It would be an extremely heavy lift for us to bring the fire district into the fire district and the water district underneath the umbrella of this town. They're two very separate entities, and they work in very separate ways. And it also would take a legislative lift as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. All right, we're going to move to closing statements. And for closing statements, just a reminder, you have 2 minutes, and we are going to start this one with Tony.
I'm going to end where I began, and that is my 40 years in Dalton. I'm grateful and thankful for having lived here and raised my family. I've worked for the community, I've served the community, and I feel good about that. When I describe Dalton to people who ask where I'm from, I say Dalton is a small pond. And it's built upon relationships and friendships. And it's sharing memories and thoughts of those before us, those now, and our children and families. I feel very strongly about that. I take pride in our community, our schools. I can't speak highly enough about our town government and the various departments. Our civic and our church organizations add a real richness and quality of life to our community. I want to see that continue. I think my values are the values of Dalton. My values are family, hard work, self-improvement, and grace. And throughout it all, to have a sense of humor. As with everyone here tonight, I pledge to do my part and my time and talents to supporting Dalton in the future. To the successful candidates, I want to say congratulations and in no small measure, condolences.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to go to Robert.
In January, as your select board candidate, I made campaign promises and committed to doing the work necessary to perform my duties well. As a select board member, I believe I demonstrated an unusual commitment to dedicating the necessary time to doing my job well and to fulfilling my campaign promises. I believe this has pleased the large majority of people in town, including those who came to me for assistance in my weekly meetings. Although during warmer weather, work will often take me out of town, I will continue to commit to be here for the people. I love this town. I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to make Dalton a better place, and I look forward to your support and being successful in the next election.
Thank you. All right. And we are going to go to Bill next.
Thank you. First and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight to listen to what we have to say and to look forward to this coming election. I commend all of the candidates that have been running. It's been a great campaign, getting to know people, getting to know other people around town. As we all know, we have many issues ahead of us in the near future, and we all need to work together to get those things done, get communication and dialogue together so that we can all talk to one another. One of the things that I've seen is in recent years, communication has begun again in this town. Something that has been lacking over recent years. I intend to be available if elected to the select board. I will be holding at least once a month meetings, or not meetings, but office hours. I think I'm going to go away from Roberts being in Town Hall, and I might work out with Kelly a time to come here and be at the Senior Center for people. It'll be a during the day style of thing. I also will meet with people by appointment, and I can be reached both on Facebook through Instant Messenger, or you can just call Town Hall. I also have a town email. I thank you again. This means a lot to see this many people here and attending this. That means people are getting out and coming to see us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and Marc?
I want to thank everyone for your support. I want to thank Bob Bishop, John Boyle, Dan Esco, and Joe Diver for supporting me for re-election. Dalton residents, I will continue to advocate on your behalf. I will continue to answer your calls and messages, to get your streetlights fixed, to get your potholes filled, and I will continue to be your voice. We may have some difficult financial times ahead of us, but I promise to be a good steward of your tax dollars. I also want to thank my family for allowing me to give up my Monday nights for the past 9 years. We are the envy of Berkshire County, this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, I just want to start off by thanking the candidates and thanking everyone for spending this lovely day with us here. And we can give a round of applause now. Thank you. All right. So again, thank everyone who participated and everyone who attended. And thank you, John Williams, for managing the sound at the event. Thank you, Rob Below, and I'm so sorry I didn't brief the last names with Sabrina. If I pronounced anything wrong, I'm really sorry. From the Dalton Cable Association for broadcasting it on channel 1301 in Dalton. So this forum will also be available on our iBerkshires YouTube channel. All 4 candidates are here, so feel free to stay and talk with any of them and ask questions as we pack up. And just a reminder, the election is here at the Senior Center, located at 40 Field Street on May 12th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you so much.